Texting terms at unlock.com/SMS. Privacy policy at unlock.com/privacy-policy. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Terms and conditions apply. For full details, see unlock.com/legal. Actor portrayal.
Lisa, thanks for having me over. Your new kitchen is gorgeous. How'd you find the money to do it?
We worked with this great company, Unlock. They help you unlock the future value of your home to get the cash you need today.
So it's a home equity loan?
No, it's not a loan at all. There's no monthly payments and no interest charges ever. And you can use the money however you want. We were able to redo our kitchen and pay off our credit card debt.
Wow, Jack and I could really use this to finally pay off our old student loan debt. How do I get started?
It's easy. Just go to their website.
Text EQUITY to 865-865 to unlock the value in your home and get up to $500,000 in cash with no monthly payments and no interest ever. Pay off debt, improve your home, add to your retirement fund. It's up to you. Text EQUITY to 865-865. Text the word EQUITY to 865-865. Text EQUITY to 865-865 now.
Brews and Banter.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Rowan, how are you?
Doing great. We have Dennis in studio with us today. How you doing, Dennis?
Very good. Good to be here.
Do you want to introduce yourself, let people know who you are? And I would say you're a local entrepreneur.
Okay.
Like a celebrity almost, I'd say.
Right?
Slave to the village.
That's right. Right.
Go ahead.
Anyways,
Sorry.
Not that I was ever mayor. So for the record, I am not mayor. I was not mayor. I used all the time for some reason thought I was. But I've been here since '83. I've been fortunate to have a lot of fun to restore 20 buildings in town. I've planted over 100 trees in the village, which every time I drive by, I think about the fact that some of those I carried in my palm and set on the ground. Didn't even dig a hole. And dig a hole, I just piled dirt around it.
Yeah.
In fact, over at Island Escape, which we'll be having the event here in 2 weeks, to see the big maple tree and the Bartlett pear sitting there. Those both I carried in my palm, and incredibly healthy trees. And that was one of my more fun projects. It was many people remember it. In the advent was the lake effect. And that was a very popular place to go. And then later it went on to be Chef and the Cook and Pasta and Rio Siete and a number of things.
Have you owned that building the whole time it was all those?
Yeah, when I got that building, it was there were no windows in it. I could walk into the basement door and look up 4 floors where a man had fallen through one time. So you could.
What was it? What was it before that? With no windows. What was that business?
That was empty for 90 years.
But what would have been in there with no windows? Do you know?
Well, the windows were just out. It was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there were windows.
I thought it was just solid wall.
No, there were window openings. It's just that,
okay.
I think I spent the first 3 months shoveling pigeon dung out.
Yeah.
It was like that. So it was a great piece of property. Shortly after I got it, the state did the 2 bridges between us and pretty much shut down anything going on. So they used my parking lot as a staging ground, which after the few years of them being there, my parking lot grew about 3 feet.
Right, sure. Right.
But we won't talk about that. And, it's so then ultimately I then got the building behind it, which was it's now Just a Cakes. And then there's an Airbnb above it along the water. So that was initially an antique shop and, now Just a Cakes for many years. And I believe I just learned that she is relocating up on 48 by Seneca Knolls, so I wish her luck there. So if anybody's looking for a great location for a potential coffee shop or...
Was that just an open floor plan on the first floor?
It's 2 areas.
Okay.
So there's a left and right. There was, over the years, there was a jewelry store there. There's antique shops. And so it's flexible. It's not a lot of square foot, so it's something quaint. But it's on the water.
So that's how you started in '83? Was those 2 buildings? That's the first 2 properties?
No. Actually, I go back. I moved to the village in '83 and bought one of the houses on the terrace on Oneida Street. It was the old William Morris house from Morris Pumps.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I proceeded to buy that, and then I bought the houses across the street that both were, in dire. I guess I was more concerned about my view, what I saw, rather than,
Yeah.
So first I redid the 2 houses across the street, and then.
So you started with the residential when you first moved here.
Residential.
Where'd you come from? Where were you born at?
North Syracuse.
Oh, okay. So you're local.
Yeah. Local,
Okay.
Yeah. So one of 5. My parents were both very involved in town Salina politics for many years, and grew up battling the Marines between Malden and Malloy Road. Back in the '60s when they used to do their practices there, I used to, invade them with my motorcycle and grab their tank shells and take them home, and they'd chase me, to try to get them back. But
I've learned that the neighborhood I live in used to be ammunition manufacturing.
In Mother Russia or?
No,
okay.
here.
Okay, just checking.
What are you talking
I don't know.
in Radisson.
You've had like 10 homes.
Yeah, that was because right after World War II broke out, the federal government gave all the farmers and everybody in that zone literally a short period of time to evacuate, and they burnt down all the houses and fenced it in. That was where they did the munitions. They actually had gunboats on the Seneca River, and if you go back there still are. You can still see a lot of the buildings back there.
There's some.
Are you talking about in Radisson?
Underground in Radisson.
Yeah. So isn't there like a hill you can slide down? Kids slide down in the winter.
I think so.
Yeah.
If you go on 60 Road, I've ridden horses back there a few times. There's still some stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then after the war, they proceeded to try to give the properties back, but most people had gotten paid for them and didn't take them. So Nelson Rockefeller then created one of 2 PUDs, planned urban developments, and then you had Radisson, and the whole idea was that was to be a city town of its own. It was supposed to have its own schools and
grocery store and everything.
It didn't quite go as fast as they thought it would, which brings us back to a little bit of the history of Baldwinsville, which I kind of am pretty knowledgeable about what's going on. In fact, if you come to Mohegan Manor in our lounge, we have a TV in the corner that has about 1,100 historic pictures of Baldwinsville, of the past and all the different things. You asked me pretty much.
I saw that.
Any building, and I could tell you, where it was. I mean, most people don't realize that the canal used to run literally through what would be in front of the Cottage Diner and through the back of what is Beeville Diner, and that to go to the dollar store there was a bridge that you had to drive over the canal.
Interesting.
Right where we are then.
Yeah. So you had to drive over a bridge that was Tappan Lumber, and that canal ran. It was called the Causeway, and it ran a water wheel that ran a big shaft across the street, and it ran all the rawhides.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, great history in Beeville.
All the rawhides.
Morris Pumps and the church, the first church to have power in the country.
So
electricity, yeah.
And you've heard of New Venture Gear?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, New Venture Gear originally was New Venture Rawhide, and it started in Baldwinsville here on the island.
Interesting.
Okay.
So there were quite a number.
Where Paper Mill Island is?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was quite a number of manufacturing facilities and stuff in Baldwinsville. In fact, in 1865, during the Civil War, Baldwinsville is the same size as it is now. So
would you say it was 3 square miles?
That's about 3.5 square miles. Yeah. So going back to my history in Baldwinsville, I bought the house on the hill and a couple houses across from it. And then one sunny day, I was out for a walk and coming down to the village, which I did quite often. And I passed what is now Mohegan Manor. They had a Boy Scout all-you-can-eat spaghetti dinner for $1.88. So it only cost me, $3.76 plus the cost of the building on the way out. So.
That's an expensive stop.
Yeah, well, and you know what? The building was pretty inexpensive. I paid twice what it cost to build. In 1910, when they built it, there was a sign on the back side of the building. It was $23,800 to build that building. That's like 20,000 square feet. and had a slate roof, and it was built by our famed architect Wellington Ward.
Yeah.
Well built. All the blueprints are hanging up on the second floor. And again, anybody ever wants to come take a tour of it, review it, we're happy to.
Was that a hotel then? Is that what this was?
No, it was a men's club upstairs,
Okay.
the Odd Fellows, much like the Masonic. And then there was the post office, which was at where the lounge is now.
Okay.
And then there was Livingston's fast service restaurant where the dining room is for Mohegan Manor.
Okay.
And then the lower level was a bowling alley. First bowling alley in the area. Ran up till World War II, and then I think Sports Bowl or something else came by. It's been 15, 20 years, but I used to meet many older couples who met during the war there at square dances and got married. So there's a lot of history.
This history is phenomenal.
That's pretty
to
cool.
us especially. We love that.
The Odd Fellows, the attic is still full of. I'm still cleaning out attic of all kind of memorabilia and
that's
books
great.
and
That's
posters
great.
and.
Love that stuff.
So right now, Mohegan Manor, what kind of services you provide there?
So for 36 years, we've been doing weddings, parties. We've had a restaurant. That's currently the restaurant. We are only Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock to 9. We are a membership club. However, we do allow the public to come in with reservations, so it's open. We're always looking for new members. So we have everybody pretty much knows everyone else. We've just added recently, we went back to doing comedy every Friday night.
That's Comedy Vault?
Comedy Vault. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Bless you. What's the membership club? How does that work?
No, membership it's much like a golf course, country club.
Okay.
We bill your accounts. You preload your cards. We just charge. You get
Just kind of like a debit off of the balance.
We do a lot of events, whatever. The comedy club has so far been pretty successful. We're kind of enjoying that, and that's in our speakeasy down below. So there's a whole separate bar and very very cool vibe. The other thing that we do at the Manor is we've done. My guess is about 6,000 weddings over the years, and I don't know how many anniversary parties and Rotary events and Kiwanis events and Baldwinsville Theater Guild shows. We used to do medieval nights there. We've done wine dinners. And we're always doing, we still do a couple Italian wine dinners a year.
And you're open to anything that's going to really work, I suppose.
Yeah, we're looking, and it's wide open. If you got a charitable event, you need a place, we're always very happy.
What's that seating? What's that capacity?
Well, each room's a different capacity.
Right. But they can have in any of these rooms?
Yeah, so we got rooms that are good for up to 18 people, 35 people, 100 persons, 150 persons. So,
okay.
And new to the last couple of years, seeing we are not open on Saturday and Sundays, we do allow people to rent the venue and, and bring in Angry Garlic or Sal's or Tissone's, or they can cater it in, bring in their own, or make their own food and bring it in. It's been a huge savings factor for a lot of people that trying to watch the budget. So you just rent the place. We provide the tables, chairs, and linens, just like Islandscape, same thing. We rent Islandscape by the day, and we provide the tables, chairs, linens. There's a refrigerator and freezer that we take. You leave the garbage behind. You got inside and outside. So right now we've got like 6 different, areas that you can rent depending on what your party is. Right. Graduation, Sweet 16 party. You want to do your ceremony at the Manor. Most of our weddings over the years, people do their ceremony in the ballroom. The WF Morris
a little more formal atmosphere there. The island one is on the water, a little more sort of relaxed vibe, I suppose, right? Yeah.
So when I got the Manor, and it had no rear parking lot. There was no parking. Basically, there was a footpath through the trees, and so my next step was I had to buy the 2 houses behind it, and then I had to buy a parking lot from the Morris Pumps because they had recently shut down and downsized. So
did you take that building down? Who, the Morris Pumps building?
No,
okay.
I didn't. But I gathered part of their parking lot, and then Empower and whatever Washington Street Partners took that over. So. different piece of property. And then I ultimately picked up Tickcombs, which was the original department store in town, and that now is the home of State Farm Insurance and a photographer. And
that's the building we were in with the golf simulator and all this. Yeah.
So
you perk up when I say that. How So who took down Morris Pump? I remember that building right across from the diner growing up because I'm from Beeville.
Actually, they didn't take down. Kinney was the front of Morris Pump's office building. They tore down the section between there and the gym behind it.
Wasn't it tall though?
There was the early version of that building, but that goes back to the 60s. That was taken down in the 60s.
I mean, I know I look youthful and all, but I remember just after the 60s.
Yeah. And then then there was buildings in between.
Okay.
Empower we got some great pictures of Empower when it was the machine shop inside. And again, like I was saying, that used to have a shaft that ran right through the whole building that ran all the rawhides that were made by New Venture Rawhide that was fed by the shaft that went over to Beeville Diner.
Cool.
And so that was a lot of great history. And like I say, if I had the fortune to play golf in the 80s when I came here with some of the, John Nostrand, Don Coates, and many of on the golf league. I was obviously the youngest one. A lot of these guys had been here for, many, many years. A lot of them were World War II vets, and so playing golf, I learned really incredible information about the village. And the changes, and they used to a lot of meet at Beeville Diner in the back area, and they would chit chat
and all this history you talk about is I mean, we talk about this is 3.5 square miles.
Yeah.
The history you're talking about right now specifically is all within
quarter square mile.
4 football fields. Because the Beeville Diner wasn't that big.
No,
they didn't have that addition on there.
No, the addition was very small, and so it's been fun. I would not be fair if I did not mention the true unsung hero of Baldwinsville is Pat and Carol Hovey. They were owners of Truex.
Truex Hovey, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pat,
Owners of what?
Truex and Hovey.
Yeah.
They were like a contractor sort of business, yeah.
We recently lost Carol. Pat's still living up on 48 here. And Pat saved, I can't tell you how many buildings in this town out of love for the town. I don't think he made money on any of them. He used his construction company and supply company to do it and kept his people busy. But I've done 20 properties in town. He probably did 25 and did them much grander than I did. I did him a little bit at a time. He went right in and right in and did it. So everybody, he's the very under the radar, but he employed a lot of people, fixed up a lot of buildings, and got the ball going. And of course, myself, I got involved. Later, Jim Orlando and Dan Caholen came along. So between that, it's since I moved here in '83, the changes are unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and the way they whichever piece of the local government sort of governs it, like the way they look, the buildings, and the way they're there's the architecture, and like this new place they just built here next to the police station.
Yeah.
That sort of they changed that whole front building.
That was my building. I sold that to Matt a couple years ago, and he did
So what was above that? Remember there was you probably remember something burned down that was above the bridal shop. There used to be a second floor up there.
At the corner was the American Hotel.
And that burned down or something?
Yeah. 3 versions of the American Hotel, and they had 3 fires.
Okay.
Yeah, the village was plagued by fires. You had that one. The American Hotel was that was a big one, and the last Baldwin at Baldwinsville, Harry Baldwin, died in that fire. So that was the last of the surviving Baldwins.
Okay.
But now, while we're on the Baldwins, I'll give you real cool connection with the Baldwinsville and Houston,
Texas?
Texas.
Yeah.
So in 1836, Charlotte Baldwin, who lived on Elizabeth Street, and Charlotte Street is named after her, with her husband, went to Texas and bought all the land, what is now Houston and Galveston, for $36,000. And she was the mother of Houston, and was there's a statue to her in Houston, and she owned everything back when women
Didn't own, right?
didn't own a lot of things. She has a cattle breed named after the Charlotte. Her
That's
son-in-law
fantastic.
was Rice University, and and she had the first standing army, and she owned the army in Texas, which she turned over when it became a state. So really, really interesting Googling.
Yeah.
But just nothing is interconnected.
Yeah.
Like you get cattle and an army. Like, what the fuck?
Well,
We got a podcast table.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just heard a little macabre story that her daughter was married to, I believe it was the guy from Rice University, and her boyfriend decided they wanted to kill him, and they tried to poison him with mercury,
Oh, jeez.
and didn't succeed.
Doesn't work that well. I mean, it's not working for me.
Why are you pointing at me?
You're drinking mercury.
So ultimately, the boyfriend ended up climbing in bed with a guy and strangling him. So he was hung, and the daughter was sent back to New York. So.
Those American hotels, I was in the local volunteer firefighter, and we talked about some of the fires, and so we talked about behavior of the fire and how the construction is and how the fire works with the construction, that type of construction. And it was interesting to learn about the building. And it's been saved and still there, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, that was, like I said, the third. And then across the street where the Farrell Barnell is, that was the pharmacy, old-fashioned pharmacy with a round door and the soda fountain. And that burnt in 1978, which was pretty bad. And then bouncing back to Mohegan Manor, where Seneca Federal is now.
Across the street there?
Across the street. So if you walk into Seneca Federal, the lobby was an addition. Everything to the left as you walk in was the original Seneca Federal. And then the drive-through was the old Palace Theater.
Yeah, wasn't there a library over there too? The
library would have been the old Woolworths, which is the next building up. 2 buildings up from the Gazette and then the Woolworths. So the drive-through of the Seneca Federal, which is 2-car wide by the depth of the building, was just the concession area. And then if you look in the back parking lot, you'll see the old concrete abutment, which was the wall. So it was about a 400-seat theater. I guess great pictures of it. But where the lobby of the bank is now, in 1962, there was a laundromat there. And about 2 in the morning one night, that laundromat, the boiler blew. Took out about every window in the village.
Okay.
Had it happened during the day, it would have been, pretty bad.
Devastating.
And that really, Mohegan Manor had a whole bunch of cheap, single pane,
Glass
that they put in. They put really storm windows. They never replaced the windows. So when I bought Mohegan Manor, it had 4 15-amp fuses for 17,000 square feet. No real heating system. The windows only reduced the snowdrifts. They did not stop them. There's no real heat. They were still doing bingo there. They had a couple exposed open flame
fireplaces,
heating systems that were just dumping carbon monoxide into the air.
Is that original tin in the roof? The ceiling?
Yeah. We re-exposed that. They had drop ceilings, and they had remodeled it pretty badly over the years. The organization didn't have much money, so they just did that. But on the positive side, everything they tore out. The handrails, the wrought iron, the light fixtures, everything went to the attic.
So you still have it?
Yeah, so I was able to resurrect so much of the building just by going up there. Oh yeah, that goes there, and there's the handrail, and so if they ripped quarter round off around the floors, they did that.
That's unusual. Most of the time when they rip stuff out like this, it just goes into the garbage. The fact that they preserved it.
And then it's gone forever.
And it was not an easy attic to get into, although the attic is humongous. It's 16-foot ceiling with all, looks like the Empire State Building, all heavy steel, riveted, and in incredible shape. I mean, the roof was, you could land a helicopter on it. So the whole building is just...
It's not a slate roof anymore?
No. That was...
Any future plans to do something with the attic? I mean, 16
No, actually, I
ceilings.
finally, and only the last couple of weeks, we're just trying to clean it out some and, pulled out a lot of scrap metal and old radiators and stuff that was up there that just, trying to get...
But no use for it as far as an open space goes?
It's got kind of obstructions, but it's huge, so it's a great building. So
you've invested in real estate in town. Are there any other interesting ventures outside of real estate?
Well, I got heavily into the Airbnbs about 6 years ago. I was up to 23 in the village, and that's worked out pretty well, although I'm phasing out of it now. It's become just a little more work than I want to do. I'm kind of getting closer to retirement.
There are some towns that put regulations on Airbnbs and quantities of how many Airbnbs per town. Is Baldwinsville facing that or no?
No, I don't think. It's been, from my point of view, and I know a couple other people, I can't tell you how many people who've stayed at my Airbnbs fell in love with Baldwinsville and ended up buying a house here, living here, moving here.
It's a great little town. It's safe. Everything is walking distance.
Yeah. So it's it's a nice catalyst to introduce people to it. We don't have a great hotel here. We have a hotel, but people want to stay in town and walk, and a lot of the people in the Airbnb are traveling with pets, so that's that makes it that there. But I'm downsizing. I had a few of them on Margaret Street and a couple up on my farm on 370. My newest project right now is we're doing the daycare center on Route 370. I'm in the process of either putting a daycare back in there or we're going through planning. The other option is 3 fully disabled apartments to the point where if somebody was fully disabled but self-reliant, could be in there, rolling showers, whatever. So we're kind of...
Is this up next to Cheesefield Company there?
Just past
area?
Just
There used to be some other things.
It was a daycare before.
Was there a restaurant there before?
No.
Okay, maybe I'm not thinking about the same. It's on the left?
Where the cheese place is, Cheesefield, that was Bypass Market at one point.
Okay. Yeah, because that road wasn't even there when I was growing up to connect right to Radisson there.
Yeah. So, we're torn. I mean, the daycare is desperately needed in town. So we want to do something good for the community. So the daycare or the disabled apartments, we're going to the village actually on week from Monday to get whatever approvals we needed. And that's the newest project and probably my last project.
Yep.
So,
The daycare.
Yeah, daycare or
the disabled.
Yeah, so we're...
Or a podcast studio, whatever works for you. Whatever.
So it'll be wheelchair accessible with cabinets designed for someone in a wheelchair.
Roll-in shower.
Yeah. That's
got
pretty
a nice covered porch in the front and whatever. Yeah. So we're toyed between servicing 60, 70 families with daycare or 3 people.
Okay.
And I like both ideas. And I originally was going to do this disabled thing on a piece of property I have on Smoky Hollow. Then this building became available. Mm-hmm. So if I do the daycare, I may still do that at another location. I just lied. I guess maybe I do have 2 properties.
and it's really needed. Being in a construction business myself, I've done at least 4 to 6 ADA compliance remodels. Someone had an injury, they needed bathrooms to be easily accessible with the wheelchair, pathway ramps from the garage, doorways to be wider, shower accessibility, handles. All these things is so important. And when someone calls me for that, I try to prioritize it. And it's being also a realtor. It's amazing how many some of the older buildings that were built that is difficult for anybody with disabilities to access, right? And some of the investors don't want to spend that money. They're not required unless they make some changes to accommodate ADA compliance. They get grandfathered in, but they just don't. They don't think of that. They don't want to spend that money. But it's nice that you think of that to help down here in town.
The thing about it, what brought it to my attention a few years back, my chef was paralyzed from the waist down from a tree accident, and he had nowhere to go. I mean, none of his family had, so that's the problem with ADA or fully compliant. It's not like there's places readily available, and it's not, sometimes, all of a sudden one day you need it, one day you don't need it, and the next day you need it. So, there's certainly, and there's a lot of places that call themselves handicap accessible, but there's easily accessible versus, no rises, no steps, no.
Yeah, they'll get grandfathered in the building, but they'll put a ramp in the front just so the wheelchair can get in, and then they'll call it ADA compliant or accessible. But then you go in the bathroom, and it's like the bathroom is not ADA compliant. So it's misleading a little bit because someone comes over there with a wheelchair, then they try to use the bathroom, and it's very difficult. But it's important that we concentrate on helping them as well. So you go real estate, you do this. So why comedy club?
I had some experience with comedy years ago when Viva Debris was around downtown, and had some friends. And the Speakeasy was sitting there empty on weekends, and we all need a laugh a little more. And I come up with ideas one day, and a week later I built it, and 2 weeks later we had
usually at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep.
So recently we got Steve Van Zandt coming in from Albany. Was here would be last week, if this later is next week, whatever. But and then on the 13th of July we have Dan Figurette
of July
of June.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, of June. Thank you. He's actually a local guy who's been on a lot of the talk shows and has done pretty well. So he's coming home to do a show, and we've got Tom Anzalone next on the 6th of June, who does a very funny, very good musician, great voice, really will make you laugh, and something pretty PG rate. Yeah, that's
interesting you mention that, because you can have maybe one-man band sort of almost cabaret style down in this comedy vault also, because you got the stage to do that. And
we're looking for we're looking for diversity in comedians. We're bringing traveling comedians, and we're not using a local. We may do some open mic at some point for locals, do something. We're looking for ideas. And again, if you're a charity, we donate 20 tickets to each show to a charity. You can sell the tickets and keep all the proceeds. So we welcome charities to reach out to us and see if they're interested in that. Same thing with fundraisers. We got a lot of great fundraiser ideas at Island Escape and whatever. I mean, I'm looking forward to your event that we're doing there on the 13th. 13th of June. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some beer from New Hartford, I believe it.
That's correct.
From
Grow Brewing.
Grow Brewing. Okay, I'm looking forward. I heard he had a great IPA. And
so we were at Island Escape for one of the events by Chamber. What is it tailored for? Like all sorts of events? Birthdays, graduations.
It's indoor and outdoors. So again,
the outdoor space is amazing.
The outdoor space is amazing. I mean, it's magical. At night when the sun goes down, when there's fireworks, you're right there. You can stand there and you're right underneath the fireworks. And
I have to add something. Sorry, Dennis. those of you with boats can actually pull up with their boats,
Absolutely.
park the boat right there on the canal,
Yeah.
and just walk right to the event. I didn't even know that.
No,
till
it's like
Frank
50,
pointed
50
out
steps.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
a lot of boats.
Yeah.
On both sides, and both sides of the lock, and both sides of the lock.
Yeah.
So it's graduations. It's amazing for birthday parties. A lot of fun. We rent it by the day, so you get it from 9 in the morning till 10 or 11 at night. So if you're smart, you plan a party in the morning, and then you plan a party at night, and you get.
We're planning both. We want the party in the morning and night together.
So do your shower in the morning, and then have a birthday party or graduation party at night, and get double
Yeah,
your.
and it's right across the street from Paper Mill Island, and it's a good location.
Yeah, and it includes the tables, the chairs, the linens. You don't have to take the trash with you. You can bring in your own food. We did just add a soda system, so now that minimizes having to bring in all. How much soda do I bring? Which flavors do I bring? So now, that's an option where you can use the soda system and have unlimited soda.
And alcohol serving by permit.
You can. There's Poisoned Apple, who did an event for us recently. Did a wonderful job. And if you're doing a courtesy bar, as long as you've got it monitored and you're not selling it, you can put out complimentary beer and wine.
Yep.
Parking, you've got our dedicated parking, and then you have municipal parking both down the street and across the street.
I like the space. I used to go there when it was Lake Effect.
Yeah, we hope to do a Lake Effect reunion party one day this summer.
Nice.
I haven't picked the date yet, but it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. The other thing, let's talk distant events. We've always done Halloween parties at the Manor for our members. This year we're opening it, and a couple years ago we did it for, forgive me if I think it was K-Rock. They used to do it at the Lowe's Theater downtown. And there was one year they were doing construction, so they didn't. So we did it at the Manor. It was all 3 floors, costume contest, whatever. So we're bringing that back this year. Baldwinsville is going to be the place. I'm hoping all the other bars will get involved in it. The place to come for Halloween.
It's amazing how much people love Halloween.
It's on a Friday night this year, so that makes it convenient. We've got Brass Inc. playing.
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah,
a buddy I used to work with plays in them.
Yeah, huge drawing band. So we're going to have Brass Inc. upstairs. We're going to have a DJ down below.
Is Walt Tanner still the singer for them?
What's that?
Brass Inc. Walt Tanner.
Yeah, Walter. Yep.
Plenty of
Walter,
parking
Brian
on
Burke.
both sides of the street. Plenty of parking for people to park and come.
So Baldwinsville is where you want to come for this Halloween. I mean, it's going to be big.
That's interesting.
We've got some pictures of past. I mean, it's amazing how far people go to do these costumes. How they get.
And every year they keep pushing the envelope. Like,
and it's a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody should know Baldwinsville is. Sometimes people, for years, even before I moved to Baldwinsville, and you're from Baldwinsville? Okay. Well, I remember when people would call me to come to Baldwinsville to do seamless gutters or work I was doing back then. I don't go to Baldwinsville. I mean, it was just like Baldwinsville was like the other end of the earth, and so I think over the years, the only time people came to Baldwinsville was late night. They'd come to the Beeville Diner.
For some sort of specific thing, right?
And there was a bar in Seneca Knolls, I think, Tippafew or Tippidoo or
Tippidoo Tavern,
something like that. And that would sometimes come out.
And that's on the outskirts, really.
Okay. And then there was Oscars, and I think there was a strip bar a couple of strip bars here. At one time.
I don't know anything about those.
Which you probably don't know. You don't remember Hotel Kendall?
I don't know what you're talking about, this.
Hotel Kendall? What's the I'm going to test you.
No, I don't. I'm not going to admit to anything anymore.
Hotel Kendall was where the school buses could see all the strippers come every morning. It was between the old Messenger building and the liquor store right across from the Beeville Diner.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Liquor being the operative word there, Roman.
and Baldwinsville, when I got here, had we had the Forum, we had the Bushmill, we had the White Horse.
It was like a melting pot of New York City, all in like a little meatball.
We had Beaver's Dam, we had Mickey Peralt's. I mean, we had
which is now Sal's, right?
Yeah, Sal's and Beaver's Dam is
JP's
now, and White Horse is the cottage diner, and Bushmill is, I think, an accounting office, and Mickey Peralt's is Sal's, and
you lost Burger King as an auto shop now.
You had the Riverside, which is where the smokehouse was. And
my buddy used to own that one. It was Lock 24 restaurant.
So we had a lot of what people might have called dive bars back then.
It was a little nefarious at times, Roman.
Yeah. Then
I mean,
Fireside was your upscale.
And Fireside had like national acts come in for concerts and stuff.
To bring it. Another unsung hero of Baldwinsville.
Yeah. Don Cole, right?
Yeah, Don Cole was very good. So
has the marina always been there? The marina, has that always been there?
Yeah, that was.
That occupies a ton of square footage.
Well, that was Cooper's Marina because that was Cooper's Ford across the street, the Ford dealership.
Okay.
And then you had Van Wee Chevy, so you only had two.
So Cooper's was on the Fireside side, and the marina was on the water side?
Yeah.
Right. So now, because that's on both now, yeah.
And a funny thing, if you've ever noticed, there are no used car lots in Baldwinsville because back when the politicians, when Van Wee Chevy, and he was the supervisor, and his buddy was the other supervisor, they made a rule that to have a used car lot, you needed to have 300 feet of frontage, and a new brand.
Yeah.
So they basically
good luck finding it. Yeah.
So you're not going to find 300 feet, and you're not offering brands.
Maybe they could sell these BYD vehicles, or what we're talking about, right? BYD.
But BYD. Yeah.
BYD.
Yeah.
So it's politics, but
Yeah.
So to this day, there's you get calls all the time. Can I open a used car lot there? And no, not that I really want them here, but
right.
But
Baldwinsville does sell itself now. There's a lot. It's very quaint. It's very safe. It's small. Like we talked about, you can walk everywhere. There's a lot of things to do. They could probably use more parking, I suppose, municipal parking, maybe some more hotels, like you say. But as far as you want to have a night out, it's really.
Yeah. And you know what? Uber in Baldwinsville is pretty easy. People may think that we're a little bit far out. That's where I was going. But I see people use it all the time.
We're 20 minutes from everything.
It's quite responsive most times. So
I moved here from Boston, and I fell in love with this small town. And obviously no traffic beats anything.
Right, yeah.
But I do wish there was one more connecting bridge or something, just to reduce that traffic.
Never going to happen.
Well, that could be your third project.
It's right next to my house I'm building. There's the bridge is there, but it was another political charade.
Yeah.
By Tarky Lombardi many years ago. He wanted to have a presence in Baldwinsville, so he pretended he was going to build a bypass. That bypass, if you look at an overhead map, it's over the widest part of the river. You got to go over a railroad track, and then over a swamp, and then and then you end up in another neighborhood.
Yeah.
It would be the Tippanzee Bridge of.
Right. It'd just be a place to get somewhere else other than Baldwinsville.
I mean, has anyone looked into figuring out a way to reduce that bottleneck?
You lived in Boston. What are you complaining about?
That's right.
I moved away from that traffic. I want less.
Yeah, what's good enough for you? Like one car on the street's too many for them.
Let me.
I have to say, at least it's moving.
Let me give everybody a tip.
Yeah.
Okay. You go through Europe and a lot of places, and there's roundabouts everywhere, and a roundabout's all about courtesy. You enter, and I think Boston.
That's right.
Oh yeah, many roundabouts.
So if everybody in Baldwinsville would just not be sitting in a hurry, get to the light, and they would yield to incoming traffic and let people in and out of traffic. When, starting with our public vehicles and everybody else. If everybody practiced good courtesy, it would move much, much quicker.
Anytime I see a car trying to turn into that fish restaurant,
Atlantic.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
And they're holding up all that traffic, and there's light up ahead of me. I just stop. I'm like, go ahead, turn.
And if everybody did that, every time I ride by, Sal's there, somebody's trying to turn into Palmer, or somebody's trying to pull out of Virginia.
Yep.
Yeah. If everybody would practice that, and I'd love for the local government to promote it. And we got, a pet peeve of mine is this town has so much sign pollution, and it's government sign pollution. It's you drive and you go to the post office, and on the front of the post office there's a big letters that say U.S. Post Office, and then the state puts up another sign by the road.
Right.
One more sign for the plow guy to hit.
Yeah.
Across the street, Baldwinsville Public Library, another sign.
Yeah.
Ambulance corps. Ambulances come to you. We don't go to them. They don't want you knocking.
There's no drop-offs, right?
They don't want you knocking on the door. They're like Uber. You call them, and they come to you. So we don't need all these signs.
Funny.
We don't need all these signs on how to find the ambulance corps. Let's pretend that they come to you. Okay. Now we've got more square footage of crosswalk signs than you can shake a stick at. But try to be a merchant and put up a sign.
Right.
And, find out how much work it is. And if you look at many of my old pictures at the manor, what the character of the village was the unique signs. It was the appliance store had all the logos of GE and Frigidaire and Maytag and whatever. And, people, everybody's afraid it's going to look like Las Vegas. Well, no, it's going to look like a historic village. Yeah. And, but, the signage is the amount that the state put in. And I've called state people a couple of years ago during COVID. I'm going to use across from the manor. There was a set of signs that said 370 East, West, 31. In front of Angry Garlic. Okay, so in comes COVID, and apparently people were bored. So they replaced that sign, and they took the sign, and it was on a single post, and it's now on a double post. And then they doubled the size of the signs. So that's why they needed double posts, so the wind would do it. Okay, but that wasn't enough. Then they decided to put the exact same sign 50 feet in front of it, in front of Seneca Federal.
Yeah. And
I'm going like, you're going 30 miles an hour. Use a distance visibility chart, and you see you don't need that big a sign.
Yeah.
You don't need two sets. Yeah. You come in on 370 or 31, and it's just like the state must just have a big sign budget that they want to spend because they just keep putting up signs, and they put up more signs. And
put that into something more useful.
Yeah. And right now, and apparently there's some mortal sin against combining a sign. Why not put an ambulance sign on the bottom of another sign? Nobody ever shares a
it's
post.
one post, one sign.
Yeah, everybody gets one post. There's no sharing a sign. So,
that's ugly.
Yeah, put up a BrewsNBanter on any of those posts, and you're gonna get called out.
Yeah.
BrewsNBanter crosswalk. At least they could do is let us sponsor crosswalks.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it should. Yeah. Anything to generate money.
Sponsored by a bar.
That's right. That's right.
Cross carefully. Yeah, so
that makes sense. I love this town. I'm happy to be here. I've said it on other episodes. My wife and I we enjoy going around supporting local businesses. So where I lived in Boston, there's no chains. You it's everything in walking distance, and you're supporting mom and pop small businesses, because nobody was supporting chain restaurants. They had to be somewhere in the higher population areas in order to survive. And we kind of transitioned that mentality here. So we like to go to local small restaurants, bars, and just support them, put the money there, right? Have that circulating in our
Isn't that the number, like 70% of America's economy is from small business owners? Something like that.
It's a big number.
I believe it's in the 80s.
It's a big number, but I don't know. The employee situation is very, very difficult. I mean, we've tried to expand, and I just can't seem to. I've got stable few employees, but I can't seem to find that extra
I don't
employee.
understand that. I've also struggled to find people. I can't even find some subcontractors to do any work. Yeah. What is everybody doing for a living?
Well, let's switch to politics a little bit.
Okay.
He searched out the room. There's only three of us. He's like looking around.
I started.
Well, I'm there's a side of me that would like to see the line erased from Canada. They can stay their own country or be whatever country they want or province, but Canada has some wonderful, wonderful restaurants and wonderful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And because they are limited in the amount of area that they have to practice their being an entrepreneur, if we ever open up the border, there are some great restaurants in Montreal, Kingston, Brockville that would love to expand to Watertown.
Plus other country influences and French.
Bring down. I mean, we have Syracuse doesn't have the dining palette that Boston or Philadelphia. We're just a little bit too far from New York. All of those, we're sandwiched. We're like in the middle of that. I would say you could say probably Rochester even has a little more broader dining scene than we do. So, I would love to see some of this Canadian influence to come down there. Absolutely. So my prediction is when Mark Carney resigns, steps down or whatever, he leaves by July 27th, we're going to see some radical changes in what's happening in North America. And I'm hoping they're all good. So
it'll be nice to, like you said, open the border and allow people to expand.
And just move it. Just like you said, move. It doesn't have to move the border to the outside of Canada.
Let's protect the
and stop that.
And North America.
We just we're like free range cattle. We could just eat anywhere we want.
I was in Quebec a couple of years ago. Amazing cuisine.
Yeah.
I mean, so many good, and we went into the old part of it, like the historic part of Quebec. Man, the restaurants, brewery. There were some breweries there, and we enjoyed. We went into that castle. We had like the tea there. It was awesome. I liked it.
Like I say, they really. I tell you, I mean, people are saying, well, the Canadians aren't coming to the U.S. anymore because they're boycotting. No, they're not coming here because they got some great restaurants and things to do in their backyard. Yeah. And with the dollar difference, $1.48, $1.43, whatever it is today, it's a bargain. If you want to get a weekend out, go to Montreal, go to Kingston, go shopping. I mean, my God, you go to a steakhouse like a Kegs or Morton's or whatever, and I mean, I go there and I look at the price once it converts to
U.S.
I go, wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it should be said, like, I mean, there's all this rhetoric, this political rhetoric between Carney and Trump and that piece of shit Trudeau, whatever was happening, but I think Canadians and Americans generally get along pretty well.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all this stuff you only hear.
Politics get in the way, and there's already a divide.
I like Canadians. I mean, I'm fine with them.
There's already a divide.
I married a Canadian.
Yeah, right. Right. So now you have to like her.
There's already a divide among people because of politics. Like now, like there's a border. I just, like you said, it's too much.
I don't think it's as big as the media makes it out. I think obviously you got your hardcore people who are, and we have them here, whether you like Trump or Biden, or whether you believe that Biden was missing in action for 4 years, or that Jake Tapper just figured it out.
Yeah, and he made all his money off of this book. I knew nothing. Bullshit.
Did you see Jon Stewart go, okay, nothing like making money selling a book about the news you should have covered.
Right. That everybody else was covering that didn't make any money off of.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I thought that was.
It's all again in this age. It's media is you're steered towards what they want you to believe.
Well, and you might know more on it, but just in the last week or two, Canada passed a new law on podcasters and streaming. New streaming law. You might want to look into it.
That's interesting.
Pretty scary. and I don't want to quote it right now because I don't think I can do that, but it might be something you guys want to look at and talk about on a future podcast.
Yeah.
But
because we know some Canadian podcasters.
Maybe this episode will be banned over there.
No. Right now, if I'm in Canada and I just got back a couple hours ago, if you shared something political or whatever about Canada or whatever on my Facebook, I get not available in Canada.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is same with like Germany and all their free speech is being
so right now
suppressed.
Yeah. If you're a podcaster and you are inaccurate with your message, there are consequences.
Who's deeming it to be inaccurate?
And again, and again, I don't. I get new enough where I haven't researched.
We'll check it out for sure.
Well, the subjectivity, like if I'm conservative and you're liberal and your podcast is liberal, I could suppress you.
Yeah,
it's all opinion based.
Mm-hmm. Right. Who decides what is accurate?
But that's the problem because now podcasters like us or the more famous people like Megyn Kelly or Piers Morgan, these people, there's no corporate entity they have to answer to. So they own themselves, they can say what they want, and that's what's strangling the legacy media.
One of the things I loved about one of the things Trump has done was talking about, when if you have podcasts or you're following your Joe Rogan, whatever, start opening up the press room to people with a voice because the point is we don't want to stifle the voice.
Right.
We want people to all be aware of both sides of the story. And use some common sense.
It's okay to not be on the same side of the aisle. It's all right with that. And we've talked about this. It's got to be. Half of our podcasts. Like it's okay to disagree. It's when people get offended that you don't agree with them. It's okay to have that conversation. But you don't have to be mad about it. Whatever your thoughts are.
I've said before we even started this podcast, I would always talk about how nice it is to have long discussion platforms that is not given no large media industry, CNN, Fox, whatever, will give you 2-3 hours to discuss anything. There has to be ads. There has to be regulated. There's shows. Everybody pays money. It's all funded. But to have a platform to talk about for hours and have millions of people, billions around the world to hear this with no regulation, and you can have an open discussion. Politicians can really talk about their points, what their goals are. That's the stuff that should be listened to and more broadly spread than curated 10, 15, 20 minutes because we got to throw some of the ads in there.
Shareholders.
The news media has about a 2 to 3 item cycle. And it's repetitive.
They talk about the same thing each hour.
Repetitive. They pound on that. And that's another thing that Trump has done now. He's got them so confused that the news directors... Okay, well, let's talk. Well, what now? Russia's doing that.
Because last hour it was this.
And these guys, so they end up like throwing half the stuff out the window, and they cover the ones that they're either biased about or and they don't. And it's no coincidence that, and I'm sure you've seen it times where they'll take 6 o'clock news on Fox or CNN or Fox affiliates all across the country, and they'll play like 40 of the first 5 minutes, and they're all saying this.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that.
That's all the same.
Right.
I've seen it.
They overlay
word to word.
They overlay word for word.
Yeah.
And we go, come on, this is a coincidence that 40 people that work for the same company.
No, it's a script that's
or they
paid
have that
for
chyron across the bottom of the screen.
Just said the same thing. It's just. So it's I've got where I watch most of my news now on YouTube, and I tell you, I watch probably more CNN and MSNBC and these because I'm trying to figure out what my family members on the West Coast are saying because it's
you have to listen to both sides.
But when things
got to
are
get both sides.
When things are 180 degrees apart, everybody needs a question.
Well, it's just factually inaccurate. You can't be 180 apart and be one of them.
And there's something called common sense. It's just like, if we all saw Biden's fading, before he was even elected. I mean, the basement election, the whole thing. I mean, the fortunate thing for Trump was losing. That was good for him, because I tell you what, just like right now, if you guys shut down this podcast and didn't do another one for 4 years, but you had 4 years to think about it, in 4 years, your podcast would be amazing. Yeah. Because, this is the question I should have had, or this is the person I should have had, or this is how I should have done. You sat there and you kind of got to watch.
We're figuring it out along the way.
Yeah. Right. But like I say, if you take, sometimes you take a seat back and you look at it and you do it, and it was just like the first time Trump picked the wrong people. Mm-hmm. Second time, and I'm going to say it. I think they're the Avengers. They're the all-star crew.
Oh, he's definitely a different president, and it's. I mean, he's not so. He was more of a bully as first term, I think.
He's a New Yorker. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a New Yorker, and that's how they get things done. And when you do that many things, you don't have a lot of time for please and thank yous. It's just, but the guy does show compassion very often, and unfortunately, no matter what side, both of them are always going to play the gotchas. Mm-hmm. Right. When he calls the Gold Star family and or the fallen cop and whatever, and has an hour conversation with the family and does that. Yeah. Doesn't nothing. Not sensational enough. It gets cute, it's nice, but it's not in the cycle. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's what. Well, I hope the politics in Baldwinsville doesn't affect people this way, and it's in the best of the town. And
I know that I have a lot of folks that probably don't come into Mohegan Manor, because of my politics. But I think that you'll find that I'm honest about my politics, and I will never ever attack anybody on their politics. I love to try to have a good conversation. I like to be able to, discuss a topic without, that might have nothing to do with Trump or Biden, and try to have a topic without Trump or Biden being brought into it. And it seems like, anything you talk about, whether it's, and the sports thing or whatever, that one side or the other always wants to go to.
I think that's well said. You can have conversations that doesn't include them.
Yeah.
But even if they do, you can have a constructive conversation. It doesn't have to be
argumentative. Discussion about it for sure. And I think to be open to that, and not have to have like a heated conversation. Like there's no reason to get there.
And it doesn't have to be about that at all. It doesn't have to be politics at all.
Yeah. Like I say, you can discuss the border without either names being brought in. Okay, what do you want from the border? Mm-hmm. Not what he wants. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Yep. Okay. And like conversation we had, I think before we started here was, I would love to see the Commerce Department, whoever would do it. I'd love to see us go to all these countries, Colombia, Peru, Africa, and find small manufacturers and work on repopulating all these small communities that have abandoned factories. Let's find a factory that makes brackets for, Kubotas or something, and say, okay, move to Malone, New York. We'll give you a building. You can move. Mm-hmm. We'll give immigration status to 5-10 families and move them into these small towns. And we have a lot of small towns that need population and they need jobs and they need industry. Mm-hmm. And when you bring in 10 workers and their families and their kids, now you got a wife who could get a job with another company and a kid that maybe could come work at a restaurant, and and then you've got one more family buying ice cream at the ice cream store, somebody else using the service center to have a car repaired. So 10 families for a small town is a booming business for everybody in that small town.
And in New York, we have. I think people are confused. Because we're 6 hours away from New York City. We have a lot of room. Yeah. We have a room to accept all of this. It's not. I mean, we're not congested up here. Move farther north, and
Jump on a train in Buffalo and take it to Albany, and you'll pass 100, maybe 200 buildings along that railway in little towns that they could use 5 families. They could use 5 families. They could use 10 families. And bringing immigrants in that have a job already,
right,
and putting them in towns where Lyons, New York, and these little towns, there's still houses for $50,000 or $60,000.
Yep.
And kind of setting them up for success, prosperity. They can have jobs already, like you said.
Right.
It's not like they're coming as flooded immigrants, and they're trying to and hoping that these immigrants were not separated from family members, and actually already come in, have a job placed. And my family came as immigrants, and we kind of had to work our way up to that.
Yeah. Oh, this Chobani and Utica. I mean, huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean,
I think Chobani gave all the employees 10% ownership or something like that, or in stocks, so that it incentivized them to really work, and so that you get 10%. Yeah. If the company does well, you make more money.
But by bringing companies in and their employees who have been vetted because they've been working for the companies, we've done a lot of the legwork for immigration services, because, boy, we don't have to worry about, are these people going to be on
the public system,
public service, or whatever. They're going to come here and start working day one, and
you're not criminals, you're not rapists, any of these things.
Company like Chobani too, when they open factories nearby, they make contracts with farmers. A friend of mine was selling. He has farm, and I don't remember how many, 300 cows or something, but they were buying milk from him. One of many farmers who have cattle, they need milk for yogurt. And so the farmers also get
no farmers.
And the farmers need workers as well.
The local electrician, the refrigeration guys.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We need headhunters at the borders, not ICE necessarily. We need people at the border. Hey, what can you do? Okay, geez, you know what? Maybe we can get Carrier to sponsor you, or we can get Ford to sponsor you, or somebody, just. But you can't just have people coming that we don't know who they are, and and if you can't work legally, how are you going to survive?
Right.
And to me, crime is inevitable.
Yeah.
Well, when people are
when it's not done the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if you bring people in and you don't give them rights to work right away, but if you don't know they're here, you can't give them rights to work right away. So it's a matter of doing that. So let's recap. Mohegan Manor, Monday through Friday. Sushi on Tuesday and Thursdays. Half price sushi on Tuesdays.
Good sushi, by the way. Sorry, you have a sushi bar, chef?
Yes, Tuesday and Thursdays.
Okay.
And Island Escape if you have an upcoming birthday, reunion. Something new I'm going to do for class reunions. I haven't got the number of them that I thought I would get at Island Escape, and I think the reason is that if you were planning your class reunion, it's not like you have a checking account with a fund in it that you could pay the rent. So we're going to start doing a cost per person on reunions. So we'll take a little bit on the chin, hope that 50 or so.
Enough people
this way,
up.
If you're the planner, we're going to say, okay, it's going to be $10 a person, and they pay the night of the thing, and that way they're we get a commitment. But Island Escape for a class reunion is like
it's a good idea.
I mean, and if you want to bounce around town before or after, whatever. As far as comedy, every Friday, I encourage people. We cannot feed, if we do 80, 100 people, we can't feed 80, 100 people at Mohegan Manor, nor do I want to try to. So we are very limited on who we can serve before the show, but you can go to BG1, you can go to Angry
Bring
Garlic.
your own food in?
No, you can go have dinner.
Yeah.
Our show doesn't start till 8. We do some trivia at 7. But go to BG1, Angry Garlic, Pizza Man, Sal's, Sassone's, Smokehouse, have a bite to eat, park once, walk over, enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And you got drinks there?
Yeah, we got a full bar. Full bar. We do have a light menu down there. Chili and some sliders, and
Sure.
everything's $10. $10 menus. So
Yeah.
if you're not looking for a full dinner, then we can take care of you. But if, otherwise, Baldwinsville's a great place to come. Lots of choices to eat before the show, and
Perfect. And great comedians are coming up soon too.
Yeah. Well, like I say, we got Steve Van Zandt, Dan Frigolette, Tom Anzalone. Ooh, I should remember all of them. But if you go to Mohegan Manor Comedy Vault, go to our Facebook page, like us, share us. I think it's on, what's the ticket site?
Is it Ticketmaster or something?
No, another one. I'm just Evite.
Oh, Eventbrite?
Yeah, Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Eventbrite. You go Eventbrite. We cover the cost. There's no additional cost on the ticket. We cover the cost of the tickets. So,
well, and we certainly appreciate you working with us on our event June 13th. So
yeah, we appreciate it. We'll help out on our end, and hopefully we can maybe do some kind of a crowd drive towards a comedy vault one of these Fridays when there's a guest.
Yeah,
very good.
Bring
some friends over.
We will be handing out some tickets that day. I think we may do some tickets that we sell for half price, and all the proceeds are going to go to Rotary.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Which day is this you're talking about? The 13th?
The day of the 13th.
Okay.
We have a certain amount of tickets that will let you guys put it. You're going to be selling some concessions, and
we'll have some
merchandise and
whatever.
stuff.
So I'll give you some tickets. If anybody wants to buy them, you do that. Throw the money in a envelope for a Rotary towards the Seneca River Days, which is always a great event.
That's right.
And went from there.
We'll do all part.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you, Dennis, for coming in.
And the history, by the way, because I know that we've only probly scratched the surface of what you know. So
a lot of history, and I tell you, I always enjoy if you want to come sit at the bar with me and look up. And or any of your listeners, come on over, and if you got some pictures, I always welcome some pictures of the past from Baldwinsville. I like to add them to our presentation that we put on there
at the Mohegan Manor. Excellent.
Right.
Thank you, Dennis. And welcome back. So if you want to come back again, let us know.
Absolutely.
We'll put you in.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Don't forget, June 13th, Island Escape. Bye, everybody.
Bye.